Anda kembali lagi di Squawk Box dan untuk mengetahui bagaimana kondisi sebenarnya terkait dengan tudingan dan juga ancaman perang antara Rusia dengan Ukraina dan sekutu, saat ini kami telah tersambung bersama dengan Duta Besar Rusia untuk Indonesia, Her Excellency Lyudmila Vorobieva. Hello, very good morning to you, Ambassador Mila.
Good morning.
Thank you very much for your time. So first question, Ambassador, we've seen the tension between Russia, Ukraine, and the United States escalating these past few months. So we want to know what exactly is the direction of the Russian government's policy towards Ukraine?
Well, it's a very comprehensive question, and I would like to say that the root of the current tensions are not between Russia and Ukraine. It's between Russia, NATO, between the US and its alliance. And actually all the hysteria and all the tension that is being built around Russia and Ukraine has the sole target to shift the attention from the concerns of the Russian Federation regarding the security of our country. We see NATO expansion that has been going on for more than 30 years, and NATO infrastructure is getting closer to our borders as a threat to our security. In this situation, Ukraine is just an instrument to wage this information war against Russia. And as our country is trying to engage in diplomatic efforts, the West is waging an information war and building tensions around the situation on Russian-Ukrainian border. Actually, nothing is happening, and from our side, there is no intention to wage war against Ukraine. And please don't get me wrong, we see Ukrainian people as our brothers and sisters. I was born in Kiev. I'm not Ukrainian, I'm Russian, but that just highlights how close the two people are, Russians and Ukrainians. And to fight against Ukrainians, of course, it's an absurd notion for any Russian. So the main point is that Russia is concerned about our security because the US and its allies, NATO, have not fulfilled their commitment not to expand NATO. There was a gentleman agreement between Russia and NATO countries after the collapse of the Soviet Union, but this not to expand NATO, but this commitment was not fulfilled by our Western partners. And from 1999 to 2020, NATO has gone through 5 phases of expansion. But the red lines for us is Ukraine becoming part of NATO, because if that happens, the military infrastructure of NATO will be will be at our borders, and that presents, from our point of view, it presents an imminent threat to our security. So we have given several proposals to our Western partners, including a draft agreement on security guarantees to be signed by US and NATO. We've received some answers from them, but unfortunately we are not very much satisfied by these answers. But in any case, we are ready to continue the dialogue and consultation, because from Russia's point of view, a military solution is not a way to solve any crisis.
Okay, so in your point of view, there is no tension, but the U.S. military reported that there are around 130,000 of Russian soldiers currently stationed at the Russia and Ukraine border, and there is also a joint exercise carried out together with Belarus near the border. So what exactly is the plan here, and what is the main concern?
No, there is tension, but it's not Russia who is creating this tension. As for the military exercise with Belarus, the point of this exercise is like most of the exercises, military exercises conducted in the world, is to build up the capability to protect our country, to defend our country, but it is not oriented against or directed against any other country. The point here is that all our troops and defense equipment are either on the territory of the Russian Federation or we are conducting this exercises on the territory of Belarus as well. So not a single soldier or tank has crossed the border, and we have the perfect right to move our troops within our territory, and the key word is that within our territory, and to conduct any exercises that we think necessary. On the other hand, why people are not asking why NATO countries have dragged their military equipment and troops 1,000 kilometers away from the borders of their own countries to arm Ukraine. Is that not creating tension? Is that not presenting a threat to Russia? That is a question.
Okay. Latest news, Ambassador. It was reported that some troops in the Russia's military districts to Ukraine have returned to their base after completing drills. So how many soldiers have returned and are returning to the base in the nearest future?
Well, I'm not representative of the Ministry of Defense. I also have information from the media that yes, after the exercises have been completed, the troops are returning to their bases. And that's what we've been saying at the first place, that we have no intention to build up a tension on the border or to build up a big group of troops on the border. These were just military exercises. So after the military exercises have finished, the troops are returning to their bases.
Okay. Ambassador, we do know that numerous countries have asked their citizens to leave Ukraine due to the current tension, especially those who are living nearby the border, and also IMF and also the World Bank have also returned home their staff. So how safe is it to be nearby the border, and what is the actual and the current condition like?
Well, I would say that this is also a part of the information war waged against Russia when Western countries suddenly declared that they were going to pull out their embassies from Kiev. Actually, that took by surprise the Ukrainian government as well. And some other countries are just following the information that has been disseminated by the Western media, that we've all seen this statements that Russia is about to invade Ukraine, that it will happen yesterday, it will happen today, but it will happen during Olympics, it will happen after the Olympics, but it doesn't happen actually. And if it depends on Russia, it will never happen.
Okay. Ambassador Mila, we'll still talk about the current tension going on between Russia, Ukraine, the NATO countries, and also the United States. But we have to catch a break. Dan dialog akan kami lanjutkan usai jeda berikut. Tetaplah bersama kami di Squawk Box. Anda kembali lagi di Squawk Box dan kami masih tersambung bersama dengan Duta Besar Rusia untuk Indonesia, Her Excellency Lyudmila Vorobieva. Ambassador Mila, let's continue our discussion. We do know that the US and NATO are still not convinced that there will be no war between Russia and also Ukraine. So I'm here to confirm you that there will be no invasion of Russia towards Ukraine, yeah?
From a Russian point of view, it's a very strange way to put things, that US and NATO are not convinced that there will be no war. Actually, what they're doing, they're pushing us and trying to convince the whole world that there will be a war between Russia and Ukraine. Once again, I think our president stated it explicitly that if it depends on Russia, there will be no war with Ukraine.
Okay, moving on, Ambassador Mila, many parties, especially market players, are very concerned that there will be tension that could trigger World War III. And in the end, it will not only impact on social and political stability, but also the global economy. So how do you respond to this?
I'm sorry to say, but from my point of view, this is quite an inhuman way to put things, because it's a world war. It's not just an event that will have an impact on social and political stability and global economy. It's an awful tragedy. It will mean losses of hundreds of thousands, if not millions of lives. And of course, it will affect everything. It will affect societies. It will affect economies. We know in Russia what war is. During World War II, we lost 27 million people. So Russia will be the last country to want that kind of tragedy to repeat. Of course, we don't want war, and we don't want, as the question was put, any disruption or impact on social and political stability and, of course, global economy. War is a tragedy. We don't want this tragedy to be repeated again in a global or in a regional or in any actually dimension.
Okay, moving on, Ambassador Mila, with the current tension, is there any concern regarding oil supply disruption from Russia? Because we do know that Russia is one of the largest oil producers and also suppliers in the world.
I would respond to that by saying that we will be fulfilling all our commitments. All the contracts signed will be implemented. And again, if it depends on us, there will be no disruption in oil supply. We've been proved to be a good partner and a good trade partner and a partner in energy supplies for Europe. The sanctions applied by the US on some of our oil companies, actually, that is just unfair competition when the US is trying to prevent Russia from supplying energy resources to Europe and making Europe dependent on the supplies from the US, basically.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and still regarding this, the U.S. also threatened to stop the Nord Stream 2 pipeline project, and one of the consequences if Russia in the future decided to invade Ukraine. So if this happened, it will be also disrupt Russian gas exports to Germany. So how will the Russian government respond to this, Ambassador Mila?
Well, again, all these efforts by the US to stop the Nord Stream 2 project, again, it's an example of unfair competition, because if Russian gas stops going to Germany, to Europe, Europe will have no other choice but to switch to gas, LNG, that is imports from the US, that is more expensive. Russia, again, we are committed to our obligations. We are ready to supply energy to Europe. What we want is a fair and transparent play game, not influenced by illegitimate measures like unilateral sanctions or all these efforts to stop the Nord Stream 2 pipeline project. I think Germany, more than all other countries, is interested in having this project in place. So we are a responsible partner, and we are committed to our obligation. I think we proved it for many years already, and there is no hidden agenda from our part in this respect.
Okay, and still regarding the gas, on the other hand, we know that Russia also agreed to increase the gas supply to China. So we want to know exactly how is the relationship between Russia and China currently?
Well, China is our strategic partner, and our relations with China is in their highest point, in their best point in the last decades. And it has been proven during the recent visit by President Vladimir Putin to Beijing, where he had a very good meeting with President Xi Jinping, and he attended the opening of the Winter Olympics game. If you're interested in this matter, please read the joint statement issued by the two leaders as the result of the meeting in Beijing that took place on the 4th of February. What is very important that in this statement, actually, China supports the legitimate concerns of Russia regarding the security guarantees for our country and in Europe. And yes, we will supply gas to China, but in any case, we're ready to, as I mentioned, to fulfill our obligations both in Europe and to our partners in Europe and Asia.
Okay, moving on, Ambassador, from our conversation, you mentioned that there is a tension, but there will be no war between Russia and also Ukraine. But the news on the possibility of the World War III breaking out has been circulating around the Western media. So do you see any hidden agenda or maybe propaganda regarding this?
It's not only hidden agenda or propaganda, it's information war waged against Russia. And all this fake news that have been circulated, as I mentioned, there were already many dates stated when Russia will invade Ukraine. It never happened. And I just want to respond to that if, like our president said, if it depends on Russia, there will be no war. We know what war is, and we don't want war. And less with the Ukrainians that are, as I told you, that are brothers, our sisters. 40% of population of Ukraine are Russian speakers. We have 3 million Ukrainians living in Russia. What would be our reasons to wage a war against Ukraine? Of course, we have our concerns about security, and we have the legitimate right to defend our country, but it's defense, it's not attack.
Okay. Ambassador Mila, can Russia guarantee that in the future invasion or maybe war will not be an option if the tensions keep escalating between Russia, Ukraine, United States, and also the NATO countries?
I think this question should be directed to our Western parties. We are against a war, and we don't see military conflicts or military ways as constructive or instrumental in solving crises. I think that is not the opinion of our Western partners. If we look at even recent history, how many military conflicts have been initiated by the United States and NATO, and where did it bring the countries where these conflicts have started? Look at Afghanistan, look at Iraq, look at Syria or Libya. So military ways of resolving conflicts, it's not the policy of Russia, but how can we guarantee that the West will not initiate another conflict? That is the question directed to our Western partners, not to Russia.
Okay, so last question, Ambassador Mila, what would you like to say to the citizens of Indonesia regarding, to reduce the concern regarding these tensions and there will be no world war and also invasions of Russia towards Ukraine? As you know, this has been the main concern for our market players at the moment.
I just want to repeat to all Indonesian friends, and in Russia we see Indonesia as our good friend and partner among ASEAN countries and in the Asia Pacific. I just want to remind them of the words of the president of the Russian Federation, Vladimir Putin, who said, if it depends on Russia, there will be no war.
Okay, so you have confirmed that there will be no invasion and also there will be no war. Thank you very much for your time with us, Her Excellency Lyudmila Vorobieva. Have a very good day to you.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Dan demikian perbincangan kami dengan Duta Besar Rusia untuk Indonesia, Her Excellency Lyudmila Vorobieva. Dan berikutnya kami akan sampaikan informasi terkini untuk Anda di mana buntut aroma Perang Dunia Ketiga antara Rusia dan Ukraina membuat ekspor Indonesia ke Ukraina pada Januari 2022 terkoreksi dalam hingga mencapai 83,78%. Sementara sebaliknya ekspor RI ke Rusia malah naik. Nilai ekspor Indonesia ke Ukraina pada Januari 2022 hanya sebesar 5,4 juta dolar AS atau setara dengan 76,7 miliar rupiah atau turun dalam 83,78% dibandingkan ekspor Desember 2021 yang mencapai 33,1 juta dolar AS. Dibandingkan dengan Januari 2021 yang mencapai 55 juta dolar AS, ekspor Januari 2022 anjlok lebih dalam hingga mencapai 90,24%. Sementara itu, ekspor Indonesia ke Rusia pada Januari 2022 naik 58,69% secara month-to-month menjadi 176,5 juta dolar Amerika atau setara dengan 2,52 triliun rupiah. Bulan Desember 2021, ekspor Indonesia ke Rusia sebesar 111,2 juta dolar Amerika Serikat. Dan selepas jeda, kami akan kembali dengan informasi ribuan buruh yang tergabung dalam Konfederasi Serikat Pekerja Indonesia atau KSPI dan juga Federasi Serikat Pekerja Metal Indonesia hari ini akan menggelar aksi terkait dengan polemik aturan baru CHT. Dan sesaat lagi kami pun akan kembali dengan ulasan perdagangan saham sesi 1 dalam segmen Markets Now.